All right, guys, we're not going to get into chapter 43 today because, it's getting ready to be early in the day and I have things to do. So I've started trying to do some exercise. We got to do our exercise as well as our fasting. So I'm just going to revisit some things. Let's go back to Abraham. Let's read some here at Abraham. I'm not going to take 30 minutes because we're going to finish 42, but we're not going to do 43 today. I think I finished 42, but we'll see if we finish it. I want to read something here to you with Abraham in the beginning while I was reading you about Abraham and Sarah. It's something I wanted to read to you about the promises. God was promising Abraham a lot of things. So I wanted to read to you about what had happened. Hold on a second. Everything Abraham wanted, he went to God, and God promised him what his needs would be met. Let me see. Something I wanted to read to you about, not about the circumcision, but Abraham was living in tents in the wilderness most of the time. There wasn't like homes or things like that, or they were living in caves. So Abraham was running around building wells. It was vast land, oceans and seas. But when you get a well, that means you had water to water your cattle and do things. A well mean that you was rich, because well was where the water come from. When you could get water, you could water your herds, and the herds is what make the money, the cattle and the lamb and all of that. So they were building cities, but they were starting from the ground up. They were building basically wells in the ground just to get water. And they were living out in the open a lot of this way back then. So I'm going to tell you something I wanted to read to you about Abraham, but let me see if I can find it. I found it very interesting, the promises that God gave him. My Bible's sticking together. I don't know if some syrup is on it or what's going on. So see, when the pages tear, the words tear. So Sarah's childishness. Something I want to read to you about, but I gotta find where it was. Hold on a second. So this is what it is right here. It says, God revelation contained 3 specifics. God will give the land to Abram. He was not let yet Abraham give him the land and his descendants forever. So God said, I'm going to give you the land and I'm going to give your descendants the land forever. And Abram's heir will be his own child. He said, your heir will be your own child. Now, this is when Sarah was barren. This God promised this. And Abram's descendants will be innumerable. He said, you will have a innumerable amount of descendants. And these describe the first war ever recorded in Scripture, a war between 4 eastern kings and 5 southern kings. Shinar, which was Babylon, modern day Iraq, initiates this war. They had a war back here in Genesis 14. Shinar, the first families after the flood settled, and then the attempt to build a Tower of Babel. A war happened back during that time. Let's see here. Got more pages sticking together. This is so crazy. I hate when this happens. Abraham was victorious over the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Then, ancient document revealed. An ancient document, a woman would not provide her husband with a child. She could give her female slave as a wife and claim the child. So That's why I said it's good to have a child. It's good to have offspring. I don't care if it's from your wife or it's from your mistress or whoever. An offspring and a baby coming into the earth is a blessing from anybody. Because this happened all the way back in the Bible. They had their maids having children for their husbands. They had concubines. They had outside women who was called a concubine having babies. And the wives were like, they know about this. They all know. They know about Sarah said, go on in with her. She a virgin. I can't do it. Let somebody else do it. Because she knew that her husband loved her, so she wasn't concerned. But she did get a little jealous hearted because she said, "I see you in love with this woman," but he only loved her because he was her first, and she was excited, and she had a baby, Hagar. But he said, "I see you that you in love with my servant." She said, "I see you in love with my." This was her maid that helped her, and so she trusted that they would do this honestly, and she wasn't trying to share her love. She said, "I'll let you go on and have sex just to give me the baby." They wanted the baby, but that's what Abraham said to her. He knew he was wrong for his mind to even think. All he was supposed to be doing was having sex to get the baby. But anyway. A baby is a blessing from any way it come, anyhow, whoever. And that's why when you see people trying to have a baby and toss them to the ground, I'm like, what? Give it up to somebody, because the baby can be fostered or adopted, or another family can take the baby. Just don't throw the baby away. So anyway, I went all off the subject. But what I wanted to tell you about was about Abraham. Abraham didn't have, he had just started buying up land. Basically, when Sarah died, he bought a whole big plot of land as a burial ground. It was important that they bury and mourn the right way. They were big on when a person died. They took so long, I think 30 to 45 days to mourn the death of the person. And then the body was kept out, and then they wrapped the body in all these bandages. So they mourned the body and they preserved it a special way so that they could mourn the death of the body for so long, for so many days. But now, a person died 1 or 2 weeks, poof, they in the grave. But back then, it was a tradition to mourn and stay in weeping for so many days, like a month and a half or something, almost 2 months. And then you go and bury them and put the sculpture of the grave plot on top. So Abraham bought a whole land during that time, and they said, okay, he bought the land, and the land had trees on it. I think it may have been a well on it, but no, it didn't have a well, but it did have trees. It was a very beautiful land, and that's where he buried Sarah. But it's something else I wanted to tell you about, but I can't find it. Anyway, I can't find it. This is what I want to tell you. Abraham's obedience is rewarded in 3 ways because he was being very obedient. It was rewarded in 3 ways. First, God provides the very thing he commands to Abraham. I don't know what's wrong with my camera here, why it's like that. God provides. This is the first reward that he got from God. And this is back in 22, 13, and 14 of Genesis. Abraham's obedience is rewarded in 3 ways. First, God provides the very thing he demands from Abraham. Fittingly, Abraham names the place the Lord will provide. Number 2, God provides assurance of his promises. This is in Genesis 22, 15 through 19. The Lord provided an assurance of his promise. And then the first thing was God provides the thing that Abraham wanted. And then the second thing, and then Abraham said the Lord would provide. So, because he did it. And then the second thing, God provides the assurance. He assures him that he's going to provide. And it is unusual for God to speak with an oath. But Abraham's supreme act of obedience draws forth God's supreme assurance of blessing. And then finally, God provides future needs. And this verse contains the final recorded instance of God speaking to Abraham. God spoke directly to Abraham 8 times. Abraham mourns and weeps, indicating that he goes through the traditional mourning customs of his day, tearing his clothes, cutting his beard, spreading dust on his head, and fasting. This is all done in the presence of the dead body. The Israelites had a very elaborate process that they went through when someone died. That's what I told you. This is the first record of a man's tears in the Bible. The ancient Israelites placed great importance on the location of their own and family members' burial sites. It was normally important to be buried in one's homeland, back where you came from. But remember that Abraham and Sarah family roots were in Ur, which is 11 and 31. Despite the importance of burial location, family roots and Abraham's current alien status, he insists on burying Sarah in Canaan. So he buried his wife in Canaan, even though doing so is costly, is expensive. Why? Because Abraham is not looking backward. He's not looking backward to where he came from, nor is he looking at his present situation. Living in a tent because he does not possess even 1 acre of the promised land, Abraham is looking forward. So he don't have all this land he's been promised yet. He's living in a tent when Sarah died. And so he's looking forward. He's not looking backward. The chapter contains a great love story. The Lord, who never speaks in this chapter, is nevertheless the main character. He is mentioned 17 times. The agreement that Abraham makes with his servant seems a little bizarre, as does the servant placing his hand under Abraham's thigh. Yet this is customary in Abraham's day. And the description of the servant's travel actually encompasses hundreds of miles and several months, as the servant assembles a caravan and makes his way to Mesopotamia. The city of Nahar could refer to a city by the name, or it could simply mean Abraham's brother Nahar lives there. Okay, so this is when we're speaking about Abraham sent to get a wife for Isaac, and the wife was named Rebekah. And Rebekah watered the camels when Abraham's servant showed up. So Abraham was living in a tent, and he was going around trying to get wells, where the well water come up. He was trying to purchase wells and things like that. But he did buy his land for his wife to be buried in, and he took a long time to mourn Sarah's death. And then he said, they needed a wife for his son Isaac, because the Lord promised that he would have seeds, and he said, my son must have a wife in order to make a seed. He was always looking ahead of things, and that's the way parents do. Now, there was something else back here I wanted to read to you about. Oh, what I wanted to tell you about with Jacob. Jacob became Israel, and Jacob had so many offspring that he became a great nation. Now Canaan is where Ishmael married his wife. And so you got the Canaanites and the Ishmaelites, right? Ishmael was Abraham's other son. But Isaac's son was Jacob and Esau. Now Jacob was the one they said he struggled with God. He was struggling with God. His name was Struggle with God, because he stole the birthright of his brother, first of all. And then There used to be a saying that he had a dream and he said, I'm not going to leave until I get my blessing. My blessing. He always was trying to get his blessing. So he was so toil and struggle with the Lord. He got the blessing. He ended up getting the blessing in the end. But he was fighting to get the blessing. The blessing was not promised to him, and it was not an automatic thing given to him. He struggled to get the blessing, but he did get it. So let's go back. The nation of Israel, he had Hannah, he had Rachel, he had so many children. He had 2 wives, he had a lot of stuff. And then his brother Esau, he also had a lot of stuff too. He had a lot of children. Dukes and stuff came out of his lineage. But let's finish 42 and we're going to stop. Now, then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn and to restore every man's money into his sack. So he sent the brothers back with the corn and said, bring me the younger brother. And so they departed, and they went back, departed with the corn. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn, food and water, he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack, in the sack's mouth. Now, they didn't know that Joseph had put money in their sacks. He just thought they just thought they had corn. So Joseph had put money in all his brothers' sacks when they traveled back, right? And their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, and saying one to another, what is it that God had done this to us? The money. And they came unto Jacob, their father, unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, the man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us, and he took us like we were spies in the country. And we said unto him, we are true men, we are no spy. And we believe 12 brother sons of our father, one is not. He said, with 12 of us, one is not, and the youngest is with his father in Canaan. He said, this is what we told a man. And so the man who is Lord over the country, he said unto us, hereby I will trust you when you go back and bring me the younger brother. And bring your youngest brother unto me, then shall I know ye are not spies, but that ye are true men. So will I deliver your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in the sack. They emptied their sacks in front of their father. And their father saw the bundles of money, and they were afraid. And Jacob, their father, said unto them, you have bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and you will take Benjamin away? He said, he have lost some children, and you can't take Benjamin away from him. And all these things are against me. That's what the father said. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, slay my 2 sons. If I bring him not to thee, deliver him into my hands. He said, I will bring him to thee again. He said, I have to take him. He said, if I don't take him back to over there, he said that he's going to kill your sons, your other sons. And he said, my son shall not go with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. He said, if mischief befall him by the way in which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. So he said, I can't let you take him because I'm going to die. He said, my heart will be too broken and I will die. He said, you already killed Joseph. He said you killed him, but he said, when you take my younger sons away, they end up dead. He said, I can't let you take him. And that's the end of 42, guys. I just want to tell you, we're going to start on 43 next. But what I wanted to tell you was, this is the last thing. You remember Abraham had to take Isaac up there and put him on their altar, right? God do not want you to make your children an idol. You know how you make idols in the house of, oh, that's so pretty. I got that lamp or that picture, whatever. Sometimes people can have a love so strong in their heart until the love is not the love that God would say you made an idol. You begin to say, this child is this, or he's so perfect, or he's so this, and you make an idol out of that child. The Lord don't want you to make an idol out of your child. I don't care how special they are to you, how wonderful they are. You are to love and show them how to live in their lives and everything, what they have to do. But you're not to honor your child. You're not to honor your child. Fall down, bow down, give homage to the child because you're the adult. You can't give honor to the child. Child got to give honor to you. Child got to give honor to you. And so when God feel like, I guess he felt like Abraham was honoring Isaac. He said, Abraham is giving honor to Isaac and not to me. You know, he said, I want to see how much he loved him because he had made an idol out of him. Him and Sarah were so happy they had made like an idol out of this one child. But he found out that Abraham did not love Isaac as much as he loved God. God found that out when he asked him as a sacrifice. The same thing here, Jacob loved Joseph so much until Jacob is about to die. His heart is so broken. He's like, you can't take, not going to let the other youngest son be taken because he said, if you take him, I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying? How deep is your love for your children? You know what I'm saying? Your love should not be so deep for another human being that if somebody take that human being away, you feel like if that human being don't come back, I'm going to die. My heart is going to be so broken because if that's what you feel, that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's how people do their husbands and wives, the same thing, you know. And I said that I believe that's why the Middle Eastern, the people over there, they would have so long of days of mourning to get that out, you know, almost a month, 2 months of mourning, you know, to get that grief out of their heart. I don't feel like people today mourn when their loved ones die. In 1 or 2 weeks, they keep them and then they put them down to the grave just to sleep. You're going to sleep until God wake you up. They put them down to the grave in 1 or 2 days and they mourn for maybe a week or two. I don't feel like people mourn when their loved ones die long enough. Because when you're mourning, you're getting that grief out of your heart so that you can go on and live your life. God does not intend for a person to mourn forever. You know, you're to mourn for a certain period of time because you're not to make a person of an idol. These are people. We are transient beings. We didn't come here to stay. Everyone is transient in what they're doing. You didn't come here to stay. You know, you're going to live so many years, so many days. And when your days become ancient and you get old, you're going to die. And, you know, if you live to a ripe old age, people are dancing. They're happy. Oh, they lived a whole good life, whatever. But sometimes people die younger than a ripe old age. Still, it's the same process. They're not to be an idol. They're to be mourned and then remembered. Mourned and remembered. You don't forget them. You do remember them, but you don't remember them in a mournful state. You know, oh, that person. When your memories come back of a person, it should come back in good remember. I remember this and I remember that. You know, you're going to always remember your loved ones, but you're not to make an idol of your mom, your child, your husband. The Lord does not like that. You're not to idol. You know, you're like, oh, this one is so beautiful. This one is so wonderful. You know, I do love some of my children. I'm like, but you cannot lift them up like, you know, I'm living under this person, this glory or whatever. The Lord said, don't glory in nothing but me. Don't give nothing your glory but God. That's what you give your glory to. And that's how it's supposed to be. And so anyway, we're going to do chapter 43 of Genesis when we come back. I just wanted to explain that to you. I don't know if I explained it well, but I tried. Okay. Chapter 43 next. Bye.